Oh, and hi again to Dr. English YouTube channel. This is Dr. Moafi, a PhD in applied linguistics. I've been teaching English for many years. Well, today's topic is actually a branch of pragmatics, which is or can be studied under linguistics in general, but in particular, pragmatics is very independent and separate field of study in and of itself right now. And we're going to talk about euphemism and diplomatic talk. As you can see, euphemism is a milder way of saying something which may sound a little bit rude or impolite. So, in order to make it sound more polite, more respectful, and softer or a nicer way of saying something harsh or impolite and rude, in order to avoid upsetting people or other people that we are talking about, or in order to make them feel more comfortable. Let me give you a couple of examples here. As you can see, for example, instead of saying he died, we say he passed away. Passing away, this verb is a more polite way of saying dying or talking about death. So, passing away is euphemistic. Okay? So, or you can also say he's no longer with us instead of saying he died. Talking about, let's say, illness or disease, like instead of saying she's really sick, we can say she's under the weather or she's not at all well. All right. So these are other ways of talking about that, or you can, uh, look at it from another way. Like you can mention the negative aspect rather than the positive. For example, aspect of the same words. For example, we never talk to somebody and calling him or her fat, right? Normally we use such terms as overweight. Or you can frame it another way, like you can, take another stance, like by saying, for example, or you talk from the other way back, right? It's like, for example, you say that he's not thin, right? Or she's not thin. It means that, well, the opposite is kind of true. Anyway, as for the body, the functions or parts, instead of using the crude terms of the sexual organs, we may use intimate areas or private parts, for example. For as for the job changes or problems, we can say, for example, let go or downsize. Like the number of employees, for example, a number of employees were let go or were downsized. All right, instead of saying fired, or you know, he's not a good fit. Instead of saying that, or you're not a good fit, instead of saying you are not capable. For military or your safety, uh, we normally use, or you may hear in the news, collateral damage instead of unintended deaths or civilian casualties, for example. All right. Well, as for the age and senility or old age or public places, we can, for example, use these expressions such as senior citizens or the elderly. All right, instead of saying the old people or old, the old. Ladies, for example, instead of saying the bathroom, which is used for women. All right, like the opposite is gents. Okay, meaning gentleman's bathroom, basically. All right. Well, another concept which is very close to the idea of euphemism is diplomatic talk. You know, I may say that this is an indirect way of talking to people, all right? Talking about a sensitive issue, for example. But you use a diplomatic strategy in order not to sound rude or impolite or to be indirect. Don't talk to people directly, all right? For example, we use would, may, could, these terms or softeners, basically, or hedging words or expressions may make our discourse sound more tactful, all right, or graceful. So we aim to avoid anger, offense, or conflict, or causing any kind of problems. These are the basically the ways or strategies and tricks that we can use in order to talk about the delicate issues. Well, let me give you more examples of the diplomatic talk. It's very much, similar to the idea of euphemism, but euphemism is like the polite way of saying something harsh or rude. But here, diplomatic talk is the indirect way of saying something. All right, like for example, the complaints about blaming. The direct way of talking to people is like your presentation was confusing, for example. But we normally don't talk like this because they get upset and offended, right? Our audience get offended. So we normally use diplomatic or indirect way of talking to them. Like I had a few questions about the presentation. Could we go over some parts for clarity, for example? Or if you want to criticize someone or in negotiations, like your plan is weak or bad, we don't talk like this because it sounds very rude and direct, right? It's not diplomatic talk. But the diplomatic way of saying it is, I see potential in your plan, or I see some issues with your plan. And I'd like to discuss a few adjustments that could strengthen it. Or there are some ways or some areas that need improvement. For example, this is another way of saying it, right? So these are basically the kinds of ways and strategies, and sometimes it depends on your, personality, how you talk to people, whether you sound direct or indirect. So we talked about diplomatic talk as well as the important concept of euphemism. Thank you very much for listening to me and watching this video. And I hope you have enough practice and think about these two important concepts in English language. Thank you very much. And don't forget to like and subscribe.